morning. It is 7:30 on a Wednesday, I believe it is. Isn't it Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? Let me know. Let me scoot over here. Man, yesterday there was so much coughing. I'm so sorry. I was pushing the wrong mute button. What a shame. Let's get right into it. I am done believing. I'm done simply believing the truth, and I'm moving towards knowing the truth, all for the purpose of overcoming my own delusions. And let me tell you, delusions, they're alive and well. And every single one of us was born into a delusional world. This is a fallen world controlled by delusions. So many people are like, oh, satanic forces. And so many other people are like, well, I don't believe in satanic forces and all this stuff. And sadly, people on both sides, be them religious or non-religious, atheistic non-religious people, they are like, well, if it's supernatural, then it'll look like something I saw in the movies. It will look like a big giant goblin demon monster. Sadly, that's not true. Why in the hell would our enemy want to look like a big giant demon monster? Goblin demon monster. It makes no sense. These spiritual entities, they live inside of us. They live inside our hearts and our minds, and they are freeloaders. They're living rent-free, and it's time to evict them. And we do that by getting out of our minds, observing our thoughts, because these things, these spirits, these demons, they live in our minds by us not paying attention to our thoughts. We just think that those are our thoughts. We think that we're screwed up. Let's move on. We got so much I got to get to today. Then I got to get out the door. I got to go to work. These things, they freeload. They don't want us to become aware of their existence. They don't want that. So when you begin to observe your own thoughts rather than judge them or react to them or live from them or believe them, what you're doing is you begin to become aware of the fact that somebody is living in your space for free. Like, think of it. If you're a landlord and you had like 1,000 rental properties, it would be difficult to find out who's paid up on their rent. You would need employees to be checking that, but it can be done. You can keep up with who's living in your house rent-free. It only takes some time and attention. And one of the delusions I want to talk about today, it's alive and well. The delusion of the day. Most people think we are different from the people in the past. We're different from our ancestors. We know more today than they did back then. We live by science. They lived by hocus pocus and fairy tales and what's that other one? What is it when you believe in like good luck charms? What's that called? Dang, the word is eluding me. What is that called when you live by good luck charms? You are superstitious. They lived by superstition. And some of us on both sides, like I was just saying, unless it's a person climbing up the wall or a vampire thing with wings. I think I pushed the right mute button that time. Unless it's a vampire thing with some kind of wings, then it's really not satanic. It's just all in our heads. And so many Christians today, so-called Christians, theologians, intellectuals, they think that a lot of the stuff in the Old Testament is just metaphor. But the delusion is that we are different today than our ancestors were yesterday. We live by science today, not religion. And I propose to you that is a delusion in itself. It's a delusion put there by Satan and all whatever you want to see as Satan, all the evil spirits. It's there because they don't want to be seen and recognized. They don't want the attention on them because as soon as the attention gets on them, they got to move out. They want to go undetected. They want to be mislabeled. They want to be called schizophrenia. They want to be called psychosis. They want to be called, you name it. They want to be called science. And we can cure this problem with more pills. So I want to talk about something. Human sacrifice. This has to do with the abortion topic that's so popular right now. It's such a big, giant, popular thing, but human sacrifice. And people are like, well, if you let me put this into some kind of context. I believe right now that, well, I don't believe it. I know it, and I'm going to prove it to you. Whether you take it or leave it, I don't care. But I'm going to prove it to you. Abortion today is human sacrifice of yesterday. The abortion of today is just a modern scientific camouflage of something that has been going on for thousands of years. And we judge it today because we say, well, we're not sacrificing something to a god. We're not taking our child up a volcano. As a matter of fact, all that myth about natives throwing virgins into volcanoes, that all came from Hollywood. Google it. That's what Google will tell you. Oh, it's just a bunch of crap put in place from movies and stuff like that. But here, I got some proof for you. Boom, right there. You know what that is? That is an Indonesian man. Let me read a news story. This news story is from June 16th, 2022. And what does it say? Thousands flock to Indonesian volcano for a Hindu ritual sacrifice. Thousands of Hindu worshippers climbed an active volcano in Indonesia on Thursday to throw offerings from crops to livestock down its smoldering crater in a centuries-old religious ceremony. And people might say, well, that's just kind of a tradition. I'll show it again. Okay? Volcano sacrifice. Listen, if you look it up, you do a little bit of research on cultures that sacrificed to certain gods, the reason that they sacrifice, and I guarantee the reason these Hindus are sacrificing, and they're sacrificing food, that is because they believe that, I'm running ahead. They're sacrificing things out of fear. Out of fear. What do we got to do? We got to appease the gods. We've been doing things wrong. Gods are mad at us now. The volcano gods are mad at us. They're gonna mess all of our stuff up. The gods living down in the belly of the earth, they won't cause crops to come. Out of fear, they want to appease those gods. What can we do to make the gods happy with us? That sounds like an abusive relationship. I'm gonna beat the hell out of my wife, and then I'm afraid that she's gonna leave me. So I'll just buy her some gifts. And it's not just with beating. You can neglect somebody and you realize, oh my gosh, I've neglected them. I'll buy them a gift. That'll make it all better. Appeasement. So human sacrifice, where are we? Human sacrifices from the old days, modern day sacrifices in Indonesia, all for the purpose to appease this angry god. Let's keep going through history. We've got some Aztecs. There you go. That's a little cave rubbing. Temple rubbing, whatever the hell, from the Aztecs. The Aztecs, the Mayans, you name it, all the peoples who were living in the current present-day Mexico area. But there we go. We've got a temple. Up on top of that temple, very close to the sky where the gods live, there are the priests sacrificing a human being, and there's their god, the sun god, whatever his name was, I can't remember. You can go check it out yourself. But they believed. Oh, and the sun god, he's smiling, he's looking, he's happy. They believed that the sun was a god and that every night he died and that to bring him back every morning, something had to be sacrificed so that he could eat and get his strength back and come back and fight the next day. And who was he fighting? He was fighting the god of the night, of the dark, who was a woman, by the way. They thought that the moon was a female chasing this weak beta god from east to west day after day. So there you go. Another sacrifice for the purpose of food. We got to feed this god or else he's pissed off. He's pissed off at us and we won't have the energy to do what we want him to do, which is keep us alive. Let's keep going. Back in Mesopotamia, Babylon, all that whole area over there. We've got Moloch. And there we go. This is you're gonna see this. Scholars will tell you, well, there might not have actually been a cult of Moloch. It was actually maybe a title. It was this. Despite what all the scholars say, it doesn't change the fact that, oh, and also, let me back up. Sorry. This is a medieval rendering of, or it's a medieval piece of artwork about Moloch, this god. So they'll try to tell you, well, that's not even from the ancient time. That's from medieval time. It was during the medieval time when the Christians started to say, oh, look at all these evil pagans and look at what they're doing. It doesn't matter what the scholars say. You can go into the Bible. You can go to the Bible and see what the Bible had to say about the people living of that time. And I've got it somewhere right in here. You can go to the Bible and read some verses from the Bible. And let's see. And thou shalt not give any of thy seed to set them apart to Moloch. Neither shalt thou profane the name of the Lord thy God. That's from Leviticus. Moreover, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be, this is King James, so forgive me a second. Whosoever he be of the children of Israel or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, foreigners, immigrants, whoever giveth of his seed unto Moloch, he shall surely be put to death. Say what you will, and that's also from Leviticus. And there's other stuff about Moloch. And so the experts will say, well, Moloch it could have been this, it could have been that. They'll explain it away. It wasn't actually a god, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. But the fact of the matter is, why were people, during the time that Leviticus was written, why were people setting their children apart to this Moloch thing? The cult of, the idea of, there it is. And what they would do is they would sacrifice their children. They would kill their child. And why would they do that? Out of fear. Out of fear. And people today living in the scientific world say, well, there's no other gods. There's no demons. There's no all this. There's no things that creep in the night. It's science. We can prove things. It's all that other stuff is just superstition. Where does evil live, guys? Where does it live? Is it in the sky? Is it in the trees? Is it in the ground? Is it in the volcanoes? No. It's in the hearts and the souls of man. It's in the heart and souls of man. God would not be mad at somebody for killing a baby. It depends on the reason. Well, we killed the baby. Why? Because it was suffering, so we put it out of its misery. Or we did whatever. Okay, it's all about the motives behind it. We killed the baby. Why? Because it was gonna be stillborn, whatever the reason. Okay? It's the motives behind it. Why'd you do it? We'll get to that in a second. And then you're going to say, well, the Israelites had sacrifices. You're talking about all these people now, all these other people sacrificing. Well, the Israelites and the Hebrews did all that sacrifice stuff too. Yeah, that's true. There's a Hebrew. He's standing in front of the altar. He's burning a cow on there. But if you do a little bit of research, you'll find out that in the Bible, the God of the Bible, Yahweh, he didn't require sacrifices because he was hungry. He didn't require sacrifices because he was pissed off at the people. Not like all these other gods or these other rituals that these people have been sacrificing for. I already showed you Indonesia. They're doing it out of fear. The Aztecs, fear. Moloch, fear and appeasement. Here, we'll switch out fear for appeasement, appeasing somebody. God didn't need to be appeased. That's not why he asked for sacrifice. And the thing that is different between the Mosaic sacrificial system and all these others that I just got through going over and countless more is that the whole purpose of the sacrificial system given by God to his people was to show them, when you screw up, the blood is on your hands. Something innocent is going to die because you screwed up. The blood is on your hands. It was what's the word? It's not a metaphor. It was symbolism in action to show somebody, hey, when things go wrong between you and God, it's not because God's mad. It's not because you got to appease him. It's not because he's hungry. It's because you screwed up. And now because you screwed up, something innocent is going to die. And the blood is on your hands, which brings to Jesus. And people are like, well, you're going to dog on all these other Indonesians for sacrificing your own religion. There he is. Your own religion has a sacrifice to appease God's wrath. God was mad at people because they're sinners, so he had to kill his own son. What kind of perverse God is that? Well, Jesus said, obedience is better than sacrifice. Jesus went to the cross because he was obedient to his Father. And at the end of the day, the Jews, they misunderstood the point of sacrifice. They didn't get it. Their hearts weren't in it. If you don't believe me, it's in the Bible. What did God have against the Israelites? Your hearts aren't in it, guys. You're sacrificing. Big deal. Everybody sacrifices. You're giving offerings. Big deal. Everybody gives offerings, but your heart's not in it. So he was done with them. And then Jesus comes along, and Jesus says multiple parables. Hey, God sent his son to clean up the house, and his own people, I'm kind of butchering it, but basically, because I'm short on time, but God, there's a God, and he sent his own son down to take care of the rebellious people, and the people were so damn rebellious, they killed the son. So when it comes to the sacrifice of Jesus, let's get one thing straight. The Jews, his own people, they murdered him. They killed him. They didn't want to hear from him. They only wanted to appease God through their sacrificial system, to hang on to power. You're either appeasing a God or you're gaining power from the appeasement of that God. That's the whole purpose of a sacrifice. And the Jews, who were still sacrificing at that time, that was their perverse view of the sacrificial system. And so now we have Christians that are like, well, God needed a sacrifice and all this other crap. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He was proving a point to these Jews. Y'all are so damn evil, you'll kill your own Messiah. And then he's proven a point to the Gentiles. I love you so much, I'll even surrender my life. And so anybody who's a Christian, a follower of Jesus, understands that. Obedience is better than sacrifice, even to the point of death. I'm going to obey God even if he says, let those people murder you. God didn't sacrifice Jesus. He was murdered. Let's get that straight. He was killed by people. And so here's my point. I got to stop on this. All these sacrificial systems, they're to appease the gods. They're because you're afraid of the gods. And it's to gain power. To gain power. They killed him. They killed Jesus because they were afraid of him. They were afraid of God. They killed Jesus because they wanted to keep their power. That's all it is. It's fear and power. And right now, young ladies are being told, you're pregnant. It's going to screw up your life. They're being scared. So it's fear. You got to maintain your life. It's your choice. It's power. And they're being told, kill that baby because you don't know what the future holds. And the future is pretty much screwed with that baby there. You're going to ruin your life. So I propose this. All these ancient gods, be them volcanoes, suns, the sun gods, bull gods, all this other stuff. There's no such thing as these other gods. It's the evil that lives inside the minds and the souls of the people of the world. Every single one of us that was born unto this world, born into that delusion. And those gods, the God of fear, the spirit of fear that lives inside the minds and the hearts and the souls of the people, it will control them. They'll get so afraid that they've screwed their life up, they'll kill their own child to appease that God. And let me tell you, the God of fear, he's never satiated. He's always going to want more from you. With God, there was no sacrifice. You don't have to sacrifice anything except your own self, your own pride. You know what goes on the altar when you choose God? Your pride and your ego. It's got to die so that you, the real you, can live. The fear, it's got to die so that the real you can live. And so many people are like, well, Jesus is the sacrifice. He's the ultimate. Yeah. It's just a metaphor. It's a metaphor of the lamb that was slain. But again, the whole Hebrew system of sacrifice was not to appease God in heaven. It was to show you the blood's on your hands. And when Jesus came along, whose blood was his hands on? Judas, the Pharisees, the Sanhedrin, Pontius Pilate. Everybody who was afraid and loved power more than they loved God, it's on their hands. And if you are driven by fear and power and control of your own life is the most important thing to you, you've killed Jesus. You're a damn murderer. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're all born into that. And you're only doing that because you're delusional. How do you overcome it? Doubt your thoughts. Doubt every single thought. Doubt every single thought. Begin to get alone with God. Take time. Let God reveal to you that you're lost in your imagination and you're constantly trying to appease the God of fear that lives inside your mind. You're driven by fear. You're not driven by love. Think about that. If that's you, just admit you're wrong. It could be you. It could be somebody else. It's definitely the world as we know it. And there's so many so-called Christians walking around. I love Jesus. I believe in Jesus. I'm set free. If you have one smidgen of fear, you're still of the God of fear. Moloch, volcanoes, Aztec sun gods. And this delusion is, oh, we're not like the people in the old days. We're smarter than them. We live by science. No, you don't. You live by fear. You're afraid. I'm going to end on that. We will see you back tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. Have a great one.